Precisely 31 years ago today, the Berlin Wall came down in a peaceful revolution. It was a historical event which preceded the end of the Cold War and brought reunification and freedom to millions of people. And precisely 31 years later, the Falling Walls global community has again one question at its core: which are the next walls to fall in science and society? Hello, welcome to the Falling Walls Grand Final on the 9th of November. It's the highlight of the year at Falling Walls. My name is Astrid Frohloff. I'm a TV journalist and I have the great pleasure to lead you through today's award ceremony. Today we have 2 hours of stunning breakthroughs ahead of us, the top scientific contributions among 940 nominations that reached us throughout the year. 10 juries picked the best, the most relevant and impactful proposals in their respective category. And today we will share them with you, the Falling Walls breakthroughs of the year 2020. But before we start, let's spend a few moments on the question: what does a breakthrough actually look like? And what does it mean when a researcher brings an idea into the world that can change the lives of all of us? I'm delighted to say that I have the best possible person to ask. Now joining me as a guest, CRISPR-Cas9 is the perfect example of a breakthrough that will change the world and society forever. Emmanuelle Charpentier, you can see here a picture from her, a presentation from her on the Falling Walls conference in 2015. She is a French microbiologist and Max Planck director. She discovered the gene editing tool together with her colleague Jennifer Doudna in 2012. And a month ago, both of them were awarded the 2020 Nobel Prize in Chemistry for their work. And I'm absolutely delighted to welcome now Emmanuelle online. Great to have you with us, and congratulations again on the Nobel Prize, Emmanuelle.
Thank you very much.
How was it, Emmanuelle, when you did the basic research back around in 2010, before your discovery of CRISPR? Did you ever expect that something so impactful would come out of it?
Yeah, so actually the research on CRISPR in my laboratory started in 2007, 2008 already. But this research was embedded into a global line of research that was to focus on the understanding of molecular mechanisms that bacteria causing diseases are using to adapt and survive to their environment and to cause diseases. And by focusing on those mechanisms, I hoped that one day I could lead my research towards the development of a new gene technology or towards new strategies to treat diseases. So this has always been the line of research. But for sure, it was most likely not expecting, at least for me, that I would have such a breakthrough in my scientific career. And this is thanks to this specific mechanism, CRISPR-Cas9.
Yes, that's right. And how was it when you realized that it was a breakthrough? What did you feel in the first moment?
But what I felt is the fact that as a geneticist and molecular biologist, I was using over the years different types of gene technologies that were revolutionary at their time. And that with CRISPR-Cas9, there was indeed a very high chance that biologists would be very excited about the technology because it will really transform genetics specifically to modify DNA and the expression of DNA in eukaryotic systems such as human cells and diverse model organisms that are used in the biological field. So it was indeed very, I would say, exciting to realize that, okay, for sure, every technology that we are using, there are always scientists and inventors and developers behind the technology. And here I was behind the start of a new technology. So it was extremely exciting and extremely rewarding.
A breakthrough with such enormous implications also carries risks. How is it to shoulder such a responsibility?
So for sure, as one of the inventors, I surely share the responsibility to have, in a way, discovered this, the nature of the mechanism and to have harnessed this as a technology. Having said this, I could say the main scientist behind this breakthrough. If I had not been the main scientist behind, other scientists would have come up with understanding the mechanism and would have come up also to harness the technology. So I carry on my shoulder the responsibility of the technology with regard to the diverse types of applications of the technology, specifically in medicine and also in the agriculture field. Having said this, all scientists who have adopted the technology, a number of those have developed further the technology and have also led to carry on themselves with the responsibilities of the development of a technology that has therefore become, very transformative and very powerful.
One last question, Emmanuel. The day that Stockholm called, what is it like to receive the most important honor in the science world?
It is for sure. It was something surreal at the moment, even though I should say that it was expected that one day CRISPR-Cas will be very likely rewarded by the committee of the Nobel Prize. Now, for sure, it's a huge achievement to receive the highest recognition from the scientific community. That is the Nobel Prize, at least when one is doing biological sciences. So it was very, very emotional for me the day when I received the call. That was only 40 minutes before the public got to know that the Nobel Prize in Chemistry was awarded to Jennifer Doudna and myself. So I was very emotional, extremely happy, very proud for my team, and very happy as a microbiologist to be able to provide the word that fundamental research is really at the origin of development of technologies, and one should not forget about it.
Well, that's so fascinating to hear. Thank you for the moment, Emmanuel. I'll come back to you. We continue our chat a little bit later.
Thank you.
But for the moment, I would like to introduce to you Adam Levy, physicist, science journalist, who interviewed all the winners and the breakthroughs of the year and who joined me during the past winner sessions. Adam, you have moderated the digital program at the Falling Walls conferences in the past 4 years. What's new about the program this year?
Well, the first thing you notice is just how big the program this year has been. 10 categories, 10 winners in each category. Doing the maths, that's 100 people. And you just see such diversity of work, diversity of thought in this group of people. I think you also notice in 2020 this sense of urgency, not just, of course, for the coronavirus pandemic, but for issues like climate change, for issues around social justice. Questions around artificial intelligence are no longer hypothetical. We need to answer them today. And so we've really seen that sense of urgency this year.
And how does this virtual conference feel in comparison to the physical meeting?
Of course, it's really different. And it would be a lie to say you don't miss at all the kind of intimacy you get from being there in person and how hectic it can be. And you can just bump into someone who runs an incredible science museum around the corner. Of course, you don't have that this year, but what you do have is another kind of intimacy. We've been invited into scientists' labs, into their homes, and got a sense of their lives, of their work. And to have that opportunity to get so close to the researchers and to so many researchers has been a real treat.
Well, I'm looking forward to see the interviews with the breakthroughs later on. But for the moment, let's get some impressions from the interviews you took earlier in the winner sessions and see what happened there.
Hello. So could you just give me your, and yeah, are we beginning, Kevin?
Yes, the record is running.
Okay, good. Yeah, I should have checked that before I said let's begin.
Vielleicht ist das ein gutes Bild, ich weiß es nicht.
That's the children that visit my my office.
You want to say hello to Bernie? Okay, no! Stop it!
No, it's in the other corner.
Oh, here, this one. Ah, okay. Yes.
Excellent.
Hi.
So putting you on a video right now. Yeah.
This is a mode where they can put your baby on the car and then make them fall asleep.
You. Hi. Doing good.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really the challenge here, because not, I mean, you know, like a painting here and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, Kevin?
I'm sorry, but could you please look into the camera while you're answering?
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Oh, God.
Okay.
I can just say that I love your nails.
Oh, thank you.
Adding a touch of glamour to the proceedings is perfect.
You obviously had a lot of fun, Adam.
Yeah, I really did.
It was nice. Well, after doing all the interviews with the winners and talk about their breakthroughs, what are you taking away in the end from all this?
Well, of course, 2020 has been a tough year in so many ways, but it's hard not to come away from 100 interviews with 100 passionate people. It's hard to come away not feeling a bit of hope, to be honest. You see some of the most wonderful minds in the world dedicating themselves to answering and tackling some of the biggest challenges of our time. And for me personally, that's been really refreshing, really rejuvenating, and yeah, really hopeful.
Okay, thank you so much, Adam. Thanks for joining us in the studio. Now we have waited long enough. Let's start with the breakthrough of the year in the first category. As the first category, we are happy to announce the breakthrough of the year in life sciences for breaking the wall to next generation biopharmaceuticals.
No way. Really? What? This is real? Wow. I'm flattered. Really?
Breaking the wall to next generation biopharmaceuticals. Christian Hackenberger, Leibniz Forschungsinstitut für molekulare Pharmakologie.
Well, we've developed molecules against cancer and viral infections, and we used a very simple idea. We pretty much combined the best out of the world from chemistry and biology. And to develop better and safer cancer therapy, we advanced the concept of antibody-drug conjugates. So which means loading a toxic molecule to a molecule that specifically recognizes only the cancer cell. And thereby we can reduce the common side effects of chemotherapy. And it pretty much works like a Trojan horse strategy. And for viral infections, to treat this, we came up with the concept of a molecular superglue. And with this, we could find a molecule that specifically binds to an influenza virus and thereby making it not infectious anymore. And well, with this idea, we pretty much hope to fight life-threatening diseases. And of course, we are also developing this concept further. Right now, we are working on this to battle against the coronavirus.
And where is this work today? What would it take to get it out of the lab and actually help save patients' lives?
So the concept has very good first results, and we want to try to, of course, bring this further through the clinic. So we are very hopeful to get some really further encouraging results over the next years.
What are your ultimate hopes for what might be able to be achieved by combining, as you put it, the best from biology and the best from chemistry?
To pretty much come up with, in this particular case, to come up with new strategies which are safer and which in the end work better also in clinical models. I mean, we experience in medicinal chemistry that with the, let's say, common strategies that have been pursued over the years, meaning small molecule treatments, that we don't necessarily can target all the diseases that we want. So we need new innovation, new molecules that could pretty much help in the development of new therapeutics there. And when you think about that, a lot of biological molecules, so-called antibodies, work already pretty well for treatment certain diseases. Then thinking about to make this even better with adding chemistry on top to make these molecules more stable or more active would be great. And so therefore we think that bringing together the knowledge from these different areas is really an advancement for the field.
You are looking at what your approach could offer in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic. How much has your work shifted in 2020?
It certainly has shifted a little bit towards this particular target, but we've been working to battle virus infection already before. And so therefore, for us, the next step to apply this now to the coronavirus research was to now use the knowledge that we gathered before and translate it to the next level.
The Falling Walls audience, and as well the Falling Walls speakers, cross many different disciplines. Do you have any messages or calls to action that you can offer from your experience working between chemistry and biology?
Well, first of all, try it. We should not think that as scientists we have, the breakthrough idea in the beginning, which will be the end also the solution. Start doing your research, talk to people, and then along those way, when you pretty much bring in all your knowledge, your creativity, and your enthusiasm for your science, this is when you can really make a breakthrough.
Congratulations to the winner. That sounds absolutely fantastic. And of course, we are now curious to hear what the jury says and why the jury picked this contribution from all the other brilliant proposals.
Ladies and gentlemen, the scientific discovery and applicational innovation of the life science breakthrough is a technology whereby drug molecules can be attached to antibodies which find cancer cells in the patient's body with linkers that are broken only within the cancer cells, releasing the drug exactly where it should work without harming normal tissue. This calls for pioneering science in small molecule chemistry and antibody biology. Another application of the technology is prevention of virus infections. Dr. Hackenberger has early on realized the potential of his fundamental research findings. He has filed his first patent application in 2009 and founded with his colleagues a startup company to commercialize the innovations. The jury concluded that the core idea of the science is fascinating, the theoretical approach is great, and of course the potential what concerns cancer therapy and prevention of virus infections is huge. Congratulations, Dr. Hackenberger and colleagues, on behalf of the life science jury.
Well, one thing is for sure, without the support of many partners, Falling Walls would not have been possible. Many of them have been supporting the Foundation's projects for a year. The Federal Ministry of Education and Research in Germany is one of the main partners, and we are grateful for their ongoing support and a fantastic partnership, especially in this unusual year. I'm even more happy to say that Minister Anja Karliczek sent us a word of welcome for the Falling Walls community, and here is her message for you.
Welche Mauern fallen als nächstes? Das fragt auch die Falling Walls Konferenz in diesem Jahr. Und dabei erleben wir gerade das Gegenteil. Wir erleben, dass ein winziger Virus uns zwingt, Mauern zwischen uns aufzubauen. Mauern in Form von Masken, sicher die harmloseste Variante. Aber auch Mauern in Form von Besuchsverboten in Krankenhäusern und Altersheimen, Von Einschränkungen bei Reisen und privaten Feiern, von Beschränkungen bei Konferenzen und Veranstaltungen. Es ist eine wahre Disruption unserer Lebensweise, die wir uns bisher, glaube ich, so nicht haben vorstellen können. Und das weltweit. Und deswegen sage ich, die nächsten Mauern, die wir gemeinsam einreißen müssen, sind die, die das Coronavirus uns aufzwingt. Und ich bin überzeugt davon, in dieser Disruption steckt eine große Chance. Und wenn wir sie nutzen, können wir viel stärker aus der Krise herauskommen, als wir hineingegangen sind. Resilienter, widerstandsfähiger. 3 Chancen möchte ich heute dafür nennen. Erstens, die Chance auf Innovation. Natürlich mit Hilfe von Forschung. Forschung hilft uns, das Virus besser zu verstehen. Wie verbreitet es sich? Wo sind die Beschränkungen hilfreich? Und wo können und müssen wir größere Freiräume erlauben, damit wir so viel Alltag und Normalität erhalten können wie möglich und trotzdem größtmöglichen Schutz vor dem Virus erhalten. Fieberhaft arbeiten Wissenschaftlerinnen und Wissenschaftler an besseren Therapien und an Impfstoffen. In Deutschland haben wir ein großes Sonderprogramm aufgelegt, um die Entwicklung zu beschleunigen. Impfstoffe wären das Durchbrechen der Mauern. Und bis wir sie haben, nutzen wir unsere Innovationskraft, nicht nur um die Folgen zu mildern, sondern auch um den Boden für eine bessere Zukunft zu bereiten. Mithilfe der Digitalisierung, wir erleben gerade einen riesen Digitalisierungsschub, zum Beispiel an den Schulen und an den Hochschulen, und den gilt es nun voranzutreiben. Für besseren, moderneren und individuelleren Unterricht, auch nach der Pandemie. Es geht aber eben nicht nur um das Coronavirus und seine Folgen. Die Menschheit steht vor weiteren großen Herausforderungen und allen voran der Klimawandel. Auch hier setzen wir auf Forschung und Innovation. Beispiel grüner Wasserstoff. Er ist der Energieträger der Zukunft. Die Bundesregierung investiert Milliarden in diese Technologie. Denn grüner Wasserstoff kann beides ermöglichen: Klima schützen und Wettbewerbsfähigkeit stärken, damit wir unseren Wohlstand bewahren, mit Hilfe von Innovation. Wir sind in der Lage, uns an neue Situationen anzupassen. Das sehen wir allein auch an dieser Konferenz. Natürlich hätten wir uns lieber alle an einem Ort getroffen. Eine Videokonferenz ist nicht das Gleiche wie ein persönliches Treffen. Aber eine Videokonferenz ermöglicht den Austausch mit Menschen auf der ganzen Welt. Und damit bin ich bei der zweiten Chance. Der Chance für mehr Multilateralismus, für bessere internationale Zusammenarbeit. Zu unseren ersten Maßnahmen im März gehörte, unsere Unterstützung für die internationale Impfstoffinitiative CEPI zu erhöhen. Denn eine globale Pandemie braucht globale Antworten, man muss sie global bekämpfen. Und ebenso sind Klimawandel, Digitalisierung, Migration globale Herausforderungen. Und die können wir nur gemeinsam meistern. Dazu wollen wir auch unsere EU-Ratspräsidentschaft nutzen. Zum Beispiel haben wir gemeinsam mit den EU-Mitgliedstaaten und internationalen Partnern die Bonner Erklärung für die Freiheit der Forschung unterzeichnet. Das bringt mich zur dritten Chance. Was wir in diesen Monaten erlebt haben, ist auch die Stunde der Bewährung für Wissenschaftskommunikation. Hunderttausende hörten in den letzten Monaten gebannt den Forschenden zu, als sie immer wieder ihr Wissen mit uns geteilt haben, als sie erklärt haben, wie sie arbeiten und die Ergebnisse ihrer Forschung erläutert haben, auch als sie sich revidieren mussten, weil das zum Forschungsalltag dazugehört. Einige sind dadurch unter Druck geraten, denn natürlich gefällt es nicht jedem, wenn Wissenschaftler unbequeme Wahrheiten aussprechen. Und nicht jeder versteht, dass es nicht die Wissenschaft ist, die die politischen Konsequenzen aus Forschungsergebnissen zieht. Das sind nationale, regionale und kommunale Regierungen und Volksvertretungen. Auch das gehört zu unserer Aufgabe. Klar machen, welchen Beitrag Wissenschaft leistet, welche Verantwortung Politik trägt. Und auf welcher Grundlage politische Entscheidungen gefällt werden, damit unsere Demokratie gestärkt aus der Krise hervorgeht. Denn wir können Innovationen entwickeln, wir können Regeln aufstellen. Nutzen werden sie uns nur, wenn Menschen sie akzeptieren. Meine sehr verehrten Damen und Herren, liebe Teilnehmer der Falling Walls Conference. In diesem virtuellen Raum, den die Falling Walls Conference uns zur Verfügung stellt, steckt ungeheure innovative Kraft. Nutzen wir diese Kraft in den nächsten Tagen. Zu unser aller Wohl. Ich wünsche Ihnen eine erfolgreiche Falling Walls Conference 2020.
Thank you very much, Minister Karliczek, for your inspiring message. One topic that is very high on the agenda of the German government as well is the communication of science, and that is a great segue to the next category. In our next category, we are celebrating the breakthrough of the year in science engagement for breaking the wall to astronomy for the vision impaired.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Thank you.
Breaking the wall to astronomy for the vision impaired. Nicholas Bonn, Institute of Cosmology and Gravitation, University of Portsmouth.
So astronomy is traditionally a really visual subject, and we're looking at ways that we can bring topics in astronomy research to people with vision impairments through public engagement.
Can you describe what impact this has on the audiences you're aiming at?
So for a lot of people with vision impairments, it isn't that they don't want to learn about astronomy, it's just that astronomy is a really difficult subject to access because it's so visual. So by creating resources, workshops that we can present to people with vision impairments, it can make them much easier to find the information they might want to know if they want to be interested in astronomy or take up astronomy as a job.
Can you describe actually what we're talking about here? What are the tools you're using to show vision impaired people this world?
I've got an example here that I can show you. So we make, I guess you can think of these as analogs of visual images, but they're tactile instead. So where there would be light in an image, like this image on the back here, we have raised parts in the model. So if you run your fingers along this sort of methodically, you can feel all the same things that you would see in an image of something in space. You can see the shape, you can see which bits are brighter, which bits are dimmer. And so using your fingertips, the idea is that you can get exactly the same information that somebody would get if they were looking at sort of one of those beautiful pictures of something in space that we're all used to seeing in the news and in articles about astronomy.
Sighted people often describe how awe-inspiring, how beautiful images of space can be. Do you get similar reactions from blind and visually impaired people that you show these images to?
So we definitely do. So I think for a lot of people, something like a galaxy, which is what we had a picture of there, is something that they will have been told about, that they will have heard about, but they won't really have much of a sense of the shape of it, or somebody won't have compared it to something that they're familiar with. So being able to feel one of these models, they can get a much better sense of what's actually going on. And it's going to be a different way of interpreting that information. But I think, yeah, people are generally really pleased, really happy. They're usually quite excited as well.
How has your personal journey in science and research informed this project?
So this is a really personal project for me. So I was born with my vision impairment. I was born 3 months premature. But even from a really young age, I always knew that I wanted to be an astronomer because I grew up in Australia. There's lots of dark sky. I've got a tiny, tiny bit of vision, and I was just able to see maybe some of the brightest stars, and it just always fascinated me what was out there. And so astronomy was a dream of mine. I chased it for most of my life. I eventually got my PhD in astronomy, and the first thing I did was decide not to do research, but to run a project like this instead, because it's something that I would have loved to have access to when I was little to learn about astronomy.
What lasting impact do you hope that this project will actually have on blind and visually impaired people?
So I think if we're really lucky, we'll probably see a few more people with vision impairments becoming professional astronomers. I think I would just be happy if more blind people were able to be interested in the subject, because astronomy is something that links everybody in the world together. Everybody looks up at the night sky, they wonder what's going on. It just holds so much mystery for so many people. And I think I just want to give people who can't look up into the sky the same way as everyone else the same chance to experience that wonder as well.
Well, congratulations for this fantastic breakthrough. Now let's hear what was so convincing for the jury to bring this breakthrough to the grand final.
During 2020, the importance of science, but also the importance of breaking down the wall between science and society, has never been clearer. It's vital that no one gets left behind when we talk about communicating science. At Falling Walls Engage, we're looking for the projects that do that, the projects that make sure that no one is left behind as we break down the wall between science and society. And again this year, the jury were faced with a variety of amazing projects dedicated to reaching out and engaging communities around the world with science. And as usual, it was really hard to choose a winner. But one project stood out as the breakthrough of the year in the category of science engagement for 3 reasons. Firstly, because it reached an audience that had traditionally faced very particular barriers to engaging with science. Secondly, because the project had been developed by someone who themselves had overcome those very same barriers, and they're helping others to overcome them now too. And thirdly, because it was an approach to science engagement that could be valuable in engaging this community with other areas of science and in other parts of the world. So I'm very happy to award the Breakthrough of the Year in the category of science engagement to Nicholas Bonn and his project, The Tactile Universe.
Well, with me in the studio is now the person who actually started this movement, Sebastian Turner, founder of the Falling Walls Foundation, who in 2009 started the first Falling Walls conference. Sebastian, through all these years, you managed to bring together such a unique and huge community from all over the world. How is it to watch Falling Walls grow in such an intensity?
I think it's first and foremost gratitude. We are very grateful that so many people joined in and helped around the world. It's endless numbers of peoples. I can tell you, you will receive this little gift from us. You'll get a mask and it says, "Speak up for science," if you can read it. So that is for all our helpers. We'll send it out when we are done with this program. And I would like to highlight one helper in particular. He's been for us now for 8 years. He is the kind of impresario of the whole thing, and his name is Felix. You've seen him in the program, and Felix, this is for you. This is our little gift for you. It shows the people that moved after the wall came down.
Oh, here you can see Felix talking.
This is Felix, yes. Felix, thank you very much. You did an incredible job. I do not know whether you have a new job. If you look for a great person, hire him. And the other impact that I observed, or that I'm watching it with, is that we seem to have a kind of impact on science communication. Our approach was that we said to the academics, you are doing so much effort for your work. Why is there so little effort in communication? Why don't we try to make it as good, or almost as good as your research? And now over these 10 years, we recognize that more and more researchers say, I want my hard work to be well communicated. And this, I think, is a wonderful message, including for everyone in high school. I guess this Falling Walls is a bit of me repenting for my ignorance in high school, because I wasn't interested in all of that. I was never touched, and now, many years later, I recognize how fascinating it is.
Sebastian, how would you describe the mission of Falling Walls? What does it stand for, actually?
The mission is based on the meaning of November 9th. It's a very ambiguous day in German history. It's both the high point, which is the fall of the Berlin Wall, freely and peacefully, very, very unique event on the one hand. On the other hand, it's the worst, which is the first Nazi pogrom in the 30s, when Nazi and people did chase Germans with Jewish background. And so we concluded we should do both. We should celebrate freedom, but we should commemorate persecution by sharing knowledge. So that is our overall message that is into all parts of this program embedded. And therefore, we have a clear message besides the science. We have a message to Hong Kong. We have a message to Belarus. You cannot stop freedom. You may try, but you can't. In the end, you will lose. So you better take care of freedom and make sure that people have freedom. And we have a message to Washington as well. If you ignore academic evidence, you are fired.
Yeah, that's a very harsh but very, very good message. Well, Sebastian, I think it's a good moment now to look back briefly and see some of the great moments of the Falling Walls conferences from the past years.
It's this incredible connection of people, and I find myself just going, wow.
It's about what science can do and what society can become.
What was science fiction has now become science.
Falling Walls, what a great image.
These robots are a human-made system, and so we're going to need to work together.
In future, we can do better, and we must.
Science always builds bridges, and I'm very proud to be part of it.
It's a unique event of that kind.
Speakers that take us to the edge of our understanding.
Bang. Great. So trying to think that this was the beginning of time makes no sense at all.
I'm going to show you the audience tonight.
Will you help me shine a light on this incredibly urgent issue?
This conference is all about getting walls to break down so that we don't damage humanity.
The fundamental question is, are we alone?
Breaking the wall means opening new windows and discovering the unexpected. That can be fantastic.
Yeah, wow, isn't that wow? The signal of two black holes coalescing. This is what it sounds like.
Through your commitment and your effort, you will create a better future.
It's time to act. It's urgent. Do it now.
I have not seen anything else like that worldwide.
I really enjoy putting my ideas into relation to what's possible in terms of innovation.
It's such a great opportunity for innovators to share ideas with people who can actually make them happen.
We can design a Spider-Man suit. It's not impossible.
Now let's have a look at our next category for the Breakthrough of the Year 2020. In our next category, we are celebrating the Breakthrough of the Year in Social Sciences and Humanity for breaking the wall to an expanded community of faith.
Wow, that's fantastic. Thank you, Emily. What a very nice thing to hear on this very strange day in the United States.
Breaking the wall to an expanded community of faith. Margaret Levi, Stanford University.
I'm interested in building cooperation across what seem like divides, walls, if you will. And this requires a new moral political economy whose governance arrangements and the relationships that they create give us the information to change our beliefs about the world. Then we can build an expanded, robust, and inclusive community of fate to tackle together the problems we must solve to make the world a better place for all of us.
How do we actually get to that place from where we are today?
If you think about the history of capitalism, we have had a sequence of political economic frameworks since the beginning of the 19th century. So as technology changes, as democracy evolved and began to appear in many more countries. So this is a moment where the combination of intellectuals thinking about these issues, academics and other thinkers, practical politicians, communities that have mobilized to say that they really dislike what is going on and how the structure is, gives us an opening for a transformation.
Now, if there's one thing that unites all the Falling Walls talks and speakers that I've seen, it is this sense of connection and this drive to act in a way which is empathetic, which supports other people. If this is something that's very natural to us, isn't it something that's seemingly so natural to the societies we've built?
It may be natural to most of us, but it's not always in the interest of all of us. And the interest of some of us count for a lot more than others of us. So part of the history of political economic framework has been fighting over who has power to determine the arrangements under which we live. And we're in another one of those moments.
Now, why would you say this is particularly important today in 2020?
It's particularly important because, one, even before COVID, we knew that the political economic framework was fraying. COVID has really focused our attention on the failings of our governments in serving us, as well as those that are better at doing it than others. We have an incredible racial justice movement that's emerged once again in the US, which is also raising questions about the ways in which our governments have been operating and our economy has been operating.
Do you have any particular message or perhaps even a call to arms for the Falling Walls audience watching this?
I think we are all in this together, and I think it's important for everyone in every country to do what they can to help create the kind of changes that I think we all recognize are essential. And so for some that may only be the act of voting. For others, it means getting into the streets and making their voices known. So we need to get the people who care about building a community of fate that's expanded and inclusive out there really counteracting those who want to return to the past or maintain a set of racial and hierarchical privileges that no longer make sense in this world.
So a big applause to Margaret Levy. And of course, we want to know, what does the jury say about this breakthrough?
Professor Margaret Levy's brilliant project develops a framework to understand how new, innovative institutions could help individuals to recognize how their destinies are inextricably entangled with distant strangers. It challenges our understanding about a state and citizenship in a global world. She shows us how to create a new moral political economy to promote planetary well-being without losing sight of economic productivity and innovation. It develops an ethical and political framework that compellingly argues for the urgent need to make sacrifices on behalf of those with whom our fates are inextricably tied, but who may never be able to reciprocate directly. The institutional arrangements she suggests designing embody important values and ensure democratic practices that are inclusive and equitable. These should enable us to face the urgent challenges due to the COVID-19 pandemic today. The jury was highly impressed by Professor Levy's project that tears down the narrow walls of national solidarities and sovereignty to advocate a bold conception of justice and equitable institutional arrangements which embody and further the values of solidarity by using the sophisticated idea of a community of fate. I would like to congratulate on behalf of the jury, Professor Levy, for this fantastic contribution to the Falling Walls project.
And we would like to see what's coming up in our next category. Let's have a look. Now let's celebrate the breakthrough of the year in digital education. Quite an amazing project, and it is breaking the wall to access to post-secondary education for refugees.
God! Woo! Our students are going to be so excited. Wow. Oh my God. No, but okay. But Deepak is amazing. It's funny when I watched that, I was just like, okay, I'm going to enjoy myself with these 10 people. There's no beating people like this, which I'm totally fine with. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. This is amazing.
Breaking the wall to access post-secondary education for refugees. Christina Russell, Southern New Hampshire University.
Our breakthrough approach to education is providing bachelor's degrees and pathways to employment to refugees, not on our campus in Manchester, New Hampshire, in the United States, but instead in the camps and urban areas where refugees are already living and working. So only 3% of refugees have access to higher education, and many of the access points are sort of around courses or training, and we're really proud to be able to provide a full bachelor's degree and also internships and supports to make it through the degree rather than just courses. So we're chipping away at that 3% number by, again, coming to the camps and areas where refugees live.
And what's actually the impact of this? What ends up being the path that students go down after they've completed their degrees?
Yeah, well, we're really proud to have just had some independent research to show that our program, which started in Rwanda in 2013, 95% of the students graduate within 4 years. 88% are employed within 6 months of graduation. And those graduates are making double the amount that their university educated peers are as well. So we're really proud of that because our students tell us that they not only want to learn and improve their skills, but they need to economically transform their lives. So we are measuring our outcomes not only on academic outcomes and achieving degrees, but also what can somebody do with employment and what can their economic transformation be as well. So we're really proud of the outcomes so far.
What's your dream for the influence education could have on the lives of refugees?
I think access is really what we're focused on right now. So we're partnered with UNHCR, the UN agency working for refugees, and they have a campaign to move the 3% having access to education to 15% by 2030. And so we'd like to collaborate with other universities, help them work alongside us to also provide opportunities. And, dependent on fundraising, we are ready to go with 20 different countries and different partners. So I think the dream is to take our one country, Rwanda, which has then become 5 countries, and the 5 countries to hopefully 10 to 20, and do that through collaborating with other universities. And I guess generally across the globe, 34% of people have access to higher education. So really closing that gap between the 3 and the 34 and seeing some equity and equality in that education. Last thing I'll say is also changing the face and nature of who's solving the refugee problem. So right now it's a lot of outsiders like myself who've never lived the refugee experience. And we really want to get credentials into the hands of our students that enable them to be the problem solvers of this rather than beneficiaries of policies made by outsiders.
Congratulations, Christina Russell. And of course, we would like to know what the jury says about this extraordinary breakthrough.
Hello, I'm Deborah Quazzo. I'm the managing partner of GSV Ventures and the co-founder of the ASU GSV Summit. And it was my great honor to lead the jury in the Falling Walls competition this year, focused on digital education. The breakthrough of the year this year was selected based on the organization offering the highest impact with the highest learning efficacy at the greatest opportunity for scale. And the winner is Christina Russell of Southern New Hampshire University and her GEM initiatives, which stands for Global Education Movement. This initiative is focused on the 70 million displaced persons or refugees around the world who no longer have adequate access to education. And the intent of the program is to provide access to higher education and then employment opportunities thereafter. The initiative hits upon all the things that we found most important: high efficacy, high impact, and high scale. So it was a resounding unanimous victory for Christina Russell and GEM from the Falling Walls competition 2020.
So before we continue with our next category, I would like to take a moment and reflect all of this with our next guest, and this is Helga Novotny. She is live from Vienna with us. Hello, Helga, nice having you with us. Helga Novotny is a professor emerita of science and technology studies at the ETH Zurich, the former president of the European Research Council, and a member of the Falling Walls Board of Trustees. So, Helga, what do you think is the role of social sciences and humanities in a year like this, with a pandemic, political drifting apart, and misinformation and such things?
Let me start with a more general statement about the role of the social sciences and humanities, which is to show empirically that it can be otherwise. The humanities do this by tapping into the rich cultural heritage of humanity with all the grandeur and folly that has brought us where we are here. And the social sciences do it by insisting that context has to be taken into account, context matters. And once you look into the specific context, you discover there are always more than one option. There's always more than one solution. And I think what needs to be done is to join forces, explore together this space of possibilities that we have to assess what works, what does not, and to experiment. But coming back to this year, I think it has shown us that technology alone will not save us. Technology has to take context into account, and it has also to address the problems, the social problems, the unease, concerns that people have. Secondly, I think it would be good if we go back to the original and more inclusive meaning of science in the sense of Wissenschaft, which always included the social sciences and humanities, while in the Anglo-American world, it is separate. And third, but not least, I think the social sciences can help to elucidate what leads to this kind of misinformation, to the fake news conspiracy theories, the pushing aside scientific evidence. And I think here it comes up that despite all the problems we have faced this year, society still trusts in science. But we have to convey better how science is actually done. And one topic that I think society grapples with, but where science is very well positioned to do that, is how to cope with uncertainty. And science has mechanisms for coping with uncertainty, while society wants to have certain answers.
Well, Helga, thank you for this highly interesting estimation. Helga, you were the overall chair for the 10 juries that helped select all of this year's winners and the breakthroughs of the year. After we have seen in the last days, the jury must have had a lot of difficult work. Here we see a picture of the jury session. They selected from so many excellent proposals. I get it was hard work, was it?
Well, you know, the jury did an excellent, a fantastic job. You are all eminent and very experienced evaluators, but I know that it takes so much time and effort, precious time that you have to put into it. And I also know from my ESC experience how important it is in the last phase of deliberation to come together and to really find the people you want to present in this event, in this grand finale. And I think you managed and did it wonderfully. And so I want to express my thanks here, my personal thanks for your engagement, your involvement, your time, your dedication. Thanks of the organizers. But I think I can also speak for the entire Falling Walls community in thanking you, because you have not only presented us with wonderful winners, people who have done great work. You have shown to us that there are next walls to fall. But I think you have done something that goes beyond showing which walls are the next to fall. I think you have given us reasons for hope that despite all the challenges we face, and you know, the long-term consequences of this terrible year are still to come, but together, if we work together with the different parts of knowledge that we have, transgressing disciplinary boundaries, working together, I think we can move forward to what we all want to do with the help of science, technology, and innovation, namely to create a better world. So thank you from my heart.
Well, Helga, thank you so much for your touching words. That was really fantastic to listen to you. Thank you also for being the overall chair for the jury and for contributing to the conference. It was great talking to you. Now, let's come to the next category and see what is coming up here. So in this, where are we? Here. In this category, the breakthrough of the year goes to a project that is breaking the wall of hybrid intelligence.
Wow, okay. Thank you. I think that's, I saw many of the others, and I think there's a fantastic roundup, and there's lots of really, really fantastic projects. I think it, I'm looking forward to the award ceremony. It'll sink in there, I think, seeing all of the other winners. So, okay, thank you.
Breaking the wall of hybrid intelligence. Jacob Scherson, Aarhus University.
The rise of AI has divided the world into techno-enthusiasts who are fascinated by the innovative potential and skepticists who fear the total replacement of the human workforce in the near future. We believe that the solution lies in developing hybrid intelligence, which is synergetic interactions that optimally levy the strengths of both humans and machines. And for us, we have developed 3 different novel components in order to achieve this. First, we've been exploring AI-based problem solving by, for instance, for the first time ever, applying the famous AlphaZero algorithm to problem solving of real-world problems and not just chess and Go. In our case, optimizing something called a quantum computer. Second, we have transformed these kinds of natural science challenges into online computer games that have been played by hundreds of thousands of citizens around the world. And lastly, we have taken social science studies out of the lab and engaged tens of thousands in systematic studies of human problem solving, cognition, and creativity. And this gives us a very versatile picture of what it means to be human in the 21st century.
This project is looking at how we develop quantum computers. What exact piece of the puzzle are you looking at?
Our newest and perhaps most ambitious game is called Skill Lab. It's a game in which we have transformed traditional cognitive profiling into an entertaining set of games. And then we've had tens of thousands of people playing these games, which has now given us a unique insight into human cognition. We have now established what you could call a database of cognitive profiles. And using that database of cognitive profiles, we can start to investigate the correlation or importance of our cognition on a lot of different aspects of human society. So we are looking at sleep patterns, we are looking at political affiliations, we're looking at entrepreneurship, and all of that can now be unraveled using the big data that we have from the Skill Lab game.
What's your ultimate hope of the impact that artificial intelligence and human intelligence together will have?
If we succeed together in creating hybrid intelligence, that is understanding the strengths and weaknesses of both human and artificial intelligence and combining those in a synergetic relationship, we'll see all instances of our society affected in a positive way. We'll see teachers who will be supported algorithmically in doing what they should do best. So that means that load will be taken off of their shoulders, and they will concentrate on being able to notice the needs and of every child in the classroom. We'll see engineers in the companies who will be able to use and share their gut feelings together with algorithms and together with their co-developers. We'll see companies where HR consultants will be able to create teams that are well functioning because they will get all of the big data information from algorithms and then also still have that human intuition at play.
An incredible breakthrough. My congratulations to the winner. And of course, we are curious to learn what the jury says about this breakthrough.
As a professor in the departments of management and cognitive science, Jacob Schureson builds connections between the natural, social, and cognitive sciences. In the Center of Hybrid Intelligence at Aarhus University, Jacob and his team brings together hundreds of thousands of citizen science volunteers into this interdisciplinary and collaborative approach to combine human intelligence and artificial intelligence in an online laboratory and harvest the power of human problem solving in large scale. His approach explores the efficiency of citizen scientists on complex challenges such as quantum computing and novel ways of involving them in all aspects of the research process. It also captures, in a unique way, a rich diversity of people from different backgrounds, levels of expertise, and of different perspectives collaborating to solve a problem. The jury found Jacob's approach to be a genuine breakthrough as it pushes the boundaries of citizen science and human-centered AI. On behalf of all the jury members, I want to congratulate Jacob and his team at Aarhus University for their outstanding effort and creative approach.
Well, we have more fantastic breakthroughs ahead of us. Please let us know what you think about these amazing contributions and make use of our chat function on the Falling Walls event website. And while you are chatting, I will introduce to you my next guest in the studio. And this is Jürgen Lünig. He is a physicist, chair of the European Quantum Flagship, chairman of the board at Falling Walls. He is also the mastermind behind the Falling Walls Circles and this year's digital format, the Circle Tables. Jürgen, can you explain what the Circle Tables are all about?
Well, in the Circle Tables, we thought that it would be worth bringing a small number of panelists together with a professional moderator and discuss topics of general interest, also hot topics. So we have, for example, a Circle Table on the hydrogen issue, energy transformation. We have, of course, something on COVID-19. We had table discussions on the issue of forests. Why are forests burning? What's the effect on climate? What about water diagnosis? but also topics like how do we deal with racial discrimination in science? What about science diplomacy? So a whole bunch of topics with experts and a broad audience.
A wide range of very important issues. So let's listen to some of the most relevant thoughts shared in the past circle tables.
CO2 molecules don't know boundaries, and unfortunately, climate change is something that's impacting us all, similar like to the pandemic.
We fully believe that the circular economy is the future, although there's still some way to go.
The specialists are being trained as we speak, although they are sitting in a training center or maybe at home.
We're basically producing energies that were there during a phase of the universe which was critical, which was a billionth of a second after the Big Bang.
If industrial AI has something to do with the real world, then it will inherit all the complexities that we have in the real world.
Colleagues and I, we built a system at Stanford Hospital to look at a patient's electronic health record and predict if the patient is at high risk of dying, mortality, over the next 3 to 12 months to recommend them for palliative care, for end-of-life care.
I'd like to see more pragmatic, real-world evidence, adaptive trials that are more dynamic.
Life sciences have really been transformed by big data. Big data on a scale and of a quality as never before.
I expect really a revolution, a complete revolution for neuroscience, which we urgently need because we really got stuck with the classical approaches.
My vision is that we all put all of our data we have together with the clinical characteristics together.
We will see the move from concept to reality. All the objects, any single object will have intelligence.
What we are discussing today is really to push, the transformational power of this technology even one step further of what we do have today, right?
So I've yet to see an example that really stands up to, or we have computed a quantity that could not have been computed by classical machines.
Politicians and scientists don't work with dogmas, but they are seekers. They try to find solutions.
My advice into this community would be continue to dream.
If you have missed the circle tables, you can rewatch them either on YouTube or from the next week on the Falling Walls website. Jürgen, as you know, earlier we had the great pleasure to speak to the Nobel laureate Emmanuelle Charpentier. You know her since long, I think, right?
Yes.
Yes, and she is now with us again. Hello, Emmanuelle.
Hello.
Earlier in the program, Emmanuelle, we talked about how it feels to bring a scientific breakthrough into the world. But could you describe us, please, what happens after the breakthrough?
After the breakthrough, at least in the case of CRISPR-Cas, it was really about an entire scientific community adopting the technology, but not only adopting it, but developing it further for the purpose of fundamental research and for the purpose of applying the technology in diverse fields of biotechnologies and also biomedical therapies. So a lot of efforts from the scientific community, including scientists in academic institutions and private organizations, developers and clinicians. So a huge effort.
Yes, I can imagine. Well, thanks to CRISPR-Cas9, we are now in the middle of a revolution in biomedicine and biotech. How far has CRISPR already changed the landscape? What are some of the most exciting new developments?
One of the most exciting new developments are with regard to the applications of the technology to develop novel strategies to cure serious diseases in humans. So we have already seen clinical trials happening and being successful for the treatment of certain blood disorders, such as beta thalassemia and sickle cell diseases, by combining CRISPR with cell therapy. And the technology is developed further to also treat cancers through immuno-oncology strategies and to also treat other types of diseases associated to regenerative medicine or diseases such as muscular dystrophy. So it has a large implication in medicine, specifically in research and development, that is to find novel targets for therapeutics and and develop models that allow to how do you say, to test better the drugs in development.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Let's ask Jürgen, in your perception, Jürgen, what are the grand challenges in biomedicine besides CRISPR-Cas9?
Well, of course, there are quite a number of obvious unsolved problems in biomedicine. For example, infection diseases, the pandemic that occupies us right now for a couple of months, how to cure cancer, what about Alzheimer's disease, can humans regenerate, this topic of regenerative medicine, and then at the end, can we somehow extend our span of life? Can we become eternal, you know? That's maybe the most fascinating dream of mankind. So there are many, many open questions. Let me come back maybe to one issue related to also the work of Emmanuel. Hi, Emmanuel, by the way.
Hello.
I helped her getting to Germany, so we know each other for a couple of years.
Sweden, yes.
So I think one real challenge is to get the research to the patient. So from the discovery to the bedside, and then, you know, back from the patient to the laboratory and to new discoveries. This is what people call translation. And that's a real challenge because if you go to a university hospital, the medical doctors, they of course want to heal patients. So they spend a lot of time with the patients, and then often only in their spare time they can do research. Therefore, it's very, very important that scientists like Emmanuel, you know, do blue sky research, and then maybe at the end it comes to a breakthrough.
Emmanuel, if we come back to CRISPR-Cas9, when you think about the potential applications, what about the consequences? What about potential risks? What keeps you awake at night?
So, in principle, with regard to CRISPR-Cas9 and the applications in medicine, there is surely the risk that the technology could be used in what we call human enhancement. So for designing babies through the technology, there has been one case in China whereby the CRISPR technology was used indeed to engineer CRISPR babies. This has been largely condemned by the scientific community and by multiple people all over the world. And as far as I'm concerned, the scientist who is behind this application is right now in jail. So thanks to the efforts of the scientific community, but also thanks to the efforts of national academies and experts in ethical considerations, there has been a movement to explain what could be potentially the regulations to avoid such applications that are beyond really the purpose of CRISPR-Cas9, that is to really cure patients, and that would lead to, let's say, not wanted applications such as human enhancement.
Well, Jürgen, how should we handle the question of potential risks going along with researches in general?
Well, whenever you make a discovery, it's not quite obvious, besides the benefits, what are the risks. Certainly there must be, in certain fields, I think, no-go areas. But at the end, it's very important that you have a public discussion and that you have an informed public discussion. So from my viewpoint, this pandemic showed how science is at work. People could really look into the machine room of science. And, you know, there were permanently new insights. So what we need is also some kind of science literacy of people. And you know, I like the story of a little girl in the kindergarten. She was asked, where does the wind come from? And then she said, it comes from the leaves, because the leaves move and they produce wind. So the girl went to the seaside with her parents, and there was wind too, but no trees. So she came back and told the teacher, it's not true that the wind comes from the leaves. I was at the seaside, there was wind too. So I think we have to learn how things work, how science works, and then if you have well-informed citizens, I think you can also really discuss benefits, but also risk of new technologies. Very important.
Well, Emmanuel, let me ask you again, do you think we have the right framework of international regulations and ethics to make sure the risk can be minimized so that the world will only benefit from the power of good technologies?
Yeah, so with regard to CRISPR-Cas9, I think it's difficult to have regulations that reach a consensus, but so far, all the national academies and other institutions who have worked on the case go in the same direction. And now I think what is important with regard to regulations is that at least every institution using public funds can really apply those regulations, and that every research coming from public funds can really stick to the regulations. Having said this, one cannot avoid that there may be some applications in the future that will arise from the wish of certain citizens using their private funds and maybe going to the direction of using the technology in ways most of the population would not like to see the technology evolve. But this, I think, it's inherent to any technology in a way. As long as it is used primarily for the purpose it has been developed for, there are always risks for misusage.
Well, Emmanuel, thank you so much for sharing your insights and your knowledge with us. It was a great privilege to have you with us today. Thanks a lot, and all the best for your future work. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Jürgen, for the moment. We will continue our talk. Please stay with us, and we will jump right back into the next category. So in this category, we are happy to announce the breakthrough of the year in physical science for breaking the wall to room temperature superconductivity.
No, that's, I don't believe. I don't deserve. No, it's impossible. You're joking. Yeah. No, it's strange. No.
Breaking the wall to room temperature superconductivity. Mikhail Eramitz, Max Planck Institute for Chemie.
We are working in high pressure field. In high pressure field, there are two accepted so-called holy grails. One of them is room temperature superconductivity, another metallic hydrogen, which is connected because metallic hydrogen could be room temperature superconductor. Recently, we found that hydrogen become metallic together with Sasha Drazov and other collaborator in my small group, and found also 200 Kelvin in hydrogen-related compound, hydrogen sulfide.
How do you go about squashing hydrogen and just how hard are you squashing it?
We take normal common hydrogen, cool it down, make it liquid and solid, and then squeeze more than 10 times in volume, 15 times in volume. The pressure inside of this, for comparison, is 3.6 megawatts. So we can go to pressure even higher than in the center of the Earth.
So metallic hydrogen has long been predicted as theoretically possible, but why would we actually want to create it?
Hydrogen is the simplest element, but only proton and electron, nothing more. So it's fundamental interest in what will happen with the simplest element. Another thing is that, amazingly, our solar system is full with metallic hydrogen because it's the main constitution of Jupiter and Saturn. And the third goal, that there are predictions that metallic hydrogen can be superconductor, and even not usual superconductor, but high temperature, room temperature superconductor.
What would it actually allow us to do if we could have a room temperature superconductor?
This is storage for energy. So instead of capacity, we can have very big storage bank of magnets.
Could you give a sense of the hurdles you had to overcome to actually achieve this breakthrough?
It was a strong belief in scientific community that superconductivity, conventional superconductivity, cannot be high. So it's always considered like low temperature phenomenon. And the highest temperature was achieved is 39 kelvins. It's minus 200. And what we have done is really big leap from 39 Kelvin to 200 Kelvin. And so it's breakthrough not only in number, but also psychological breakthrough. And this is really important because after that, many people start to participate in this field. This field grew tremendously during 5 years. And so now we have really good chance and all basis to research ambient pressure superconductivity for future application.
And what would be your dream result from this research eventually? What would you like to see one day coming out of it?
With superconductivity or as other material, it's my dream now, it's superconductivity not at high pressure, but ambient pressure at 100 Kelvin.
So congratulations to this winner. And of course, we'd like to know what was so convincing for the jury to choose this breakthrough.
It is always difficult to choose among excellent people. And this year, the jury of physical sciences was confronted with a long list of proposed candidates for the breakthrough of the year. Quite a job. After serious consideration, the jury has decided to nominate Professor Michael Ermetz from the Max Planck Institute for Chemistry in Mainz, Germany, for his discovery of room temperature superconductivity, allowing electric current to flow without any resistance. While as of now, the superconducting material has to be under very high pressure, one might be able to stabilize it at ambient pressure, which would lead to dreamed of applications such as lossless power lines and ultra-powerful superconducting magnets that don't need refrigeration for MRI machines and even in the future maglev trains. Thank you.
Well, there is a lot happening in the chat at the same time here, and we are really appreciating all your comments coming in. I would like to read some of them because they are so nice. Christina Ciaprani is writing, so nice to see the reactions of the finalists. Caroline Häusler says, this gives hope to see so many. There are a lot of cheerings and congratulations for the breakthrough winners. There is a lot of applause for the Falling Wall team. And there is a question by Luca, is it possible to see the past events? The answer is yes, you can rewatch all the events on YouTube and next week on the Falling Walls website. So let's continue now with our next category. In the next category, we are celebrating the breakthroughs of the year in science startup, and the award goes to a startup that is breaking the wall to carbon negative material.
What? How do you know that? Wow, that's amazing.
Breaking the wall to carbon negative material. Alison Dring, Made of Air.
So at Made of Air, we're developing a carbon negative material. And we're considering the materials that make up the products that are all around us in our environment. These materials typically come from fossil resources and have very high CO2 emissions. It's clear that manufacturing needs to cut the cord from fossil resources. But when we consider our coming demand, we ask where the materials are going to come from. So at Made of Air, we look at climate change in a very different way. We see it as an oversupply of carbon in the atmosphere, and that is actually a material problem. So our question is, what if we can take this biggest challenge, this existential threat, and make it into our biggest resource? So Made of Air is producing a durable thermoplastic that stores carbon in products, and it enables manufactured goods to become carbon sinks. So we're selling this by the ton into manufacturers, into industry, such as facades, furniture, automotive, and we're currently engaged with 7 different consumer brands. We have 3 active pilots, and this company really believes that the future of materials is carbon storage.
Now, what actually is it about your material that makes it carbon negative, absorbing carbon dioxide overall?
Sure. Well, the material itself is carbon negative because it starts with the origin material, which is wood waste. And this is a waste stream that, like any biological material, has absorbed CO2 in its lifetime. What isn't commonly known is that when the plant starts to decay, the CO2 is going back into the atmosphere. And what we're doing at Made of Air is interrupting that natural cycle and converting that wood waste into biochar, which permanently locks the CO2 into a material that does not go back into the atmosphere. And then we take that material and we put it through a series of refining steps, and what we get is a thermoplastic granule that's ready for use.
How also does it compare with the fossil fuel-based products it would replace in terms of both cost and how well you could scale production?
Sure. Well, this is a material that can compete with the bioplastics market. It's at price parity or cheaper. It's highly scalable into different industries. We can currently produce with the supply chain in Germany. Our future target for our first facility will be 2,000 tons a year, and scaling up from there within 10,000 tons within the next few years.
Just how big a difference can materials like these make in our fight against climate change?
Materials actually have a huge potential to have impact, either make or break our carbon budget. So if we think about our population increase and the way that we're going to urbanize over the next 30 years, we're going to see cities urbanize sometimes by 800%. And the materials we need to be able to provide products and infrastructure and other needs for just that population increase, it's predicted that if we use our traditional materials, we'll be emitting 350 gigatons of CO2 into the atmosphere. And this is a significant amount in our carbon budget.
Congratulations, Alison Dring. Now let's see what the jury liked about this outstanding breakthrough.
One of the biggest problems of our time is how can we, in a world soon to be 9 billion people, manufacture plastic material without contributing to green gas emissions? The production process of the startup Made of Air has found such a convincing solution that our expert jury, with a background in science, venture capital, and coming from 4 continents, decided to award it with the winner of the Science Breakthrough Prize 2020, amidst an outstanding list of contenders. Made of Air creates renewable, durable plastics from waste biomass while permanently storing carbon in its products. The whole process is not only energy positive, which is a feast in itself. It also removes for each kilogram of produced material CO2 from the atmosphere by a factor of 2. This is a perfect mix of groundbreaking innovation, great societal impact, fulfilling 4 sustainability development goals, and it comes with a robust business model on top. Our congratulations go to the Made of Air team.
Back in the studio, let me continue my talk with Jürgen Lüneck, Chair of the European Quantum Flagship and the Chairman of the Board of Falling Walls. Jürgen, earlier in this show, we talked about the Falling Walls circle tables and their fantastic impact on how to solve some of the huge global common problems we have. May I ask you first, are you a pessimist or are you an optimist regarding these issues?
I'm always an optimist. Especially if it comes to collaborations. But you also have to see there is always collaboration on one side, but there is also competition on the other side. So if scientists cooperate and it's, let's say, only because of fame or reputation, no problem. But if economic interests are involved, it's a different story. So if you take quantum technologies, for example, artificial intelligence, it's a competition because economic interests are involved. If you take the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, I think there's a lot of collaboration because we know we have to decarbonize, we have to take care of the water issue, of health issues, educational issues. So it depends, but I'm optimist. If we don't cooperate, there will be a problem and especially no walls.
Okay, let's see what the experts of the past circle tables had to say about this issue and about science and innovation on a geopolitical level.
You need to create an environment in which they can actually grow.
Companies are pretty smart about taking advantage of different market conditions in different places.
The projects have become larger and larger so that we actually collaborate with each other. We try to maximize the world's potential.
It is a matter of finding a good balance between cooperation and competition.
AI in itself is neither good nor bad. It's a tool. It's a technology tool. It's a powerful tool for information processing. But what will be done with it will depend also on what kind of people do it and where it is being done.
When we wrote our AI codex, we really took the regional differences into account.
The number of countries that we've seen that in fact are fully in, and this is representing over 85% of the world's population.
To think that you can end a pandemic by just taking care of your own country and just taking care of your own people is going to fail.
We're lucky in a sense in Europe that we perhaps don't have as much money going into research as, say, the States, but everything we do is not driven primarily by military considerations or governmental cybersecurity.
It would be rather naive, I think, to think that democratization of digital technologies is something we just have to do.
There's rarely been such a joint multilateral cooperation in global health as we're seeing right now.
Scientists and scientific cooperation can only deepen the mutual understanding and trust among countries.
Now it's the right time for new alliances.
We need leaders at the top who understand how and why science and technology insights are relevant to understanding and to addressing virtually every major challenge that today's societies face.
As we have seen, this year's Falling Walls Circle tables have dealt with lots of questions on geopolitics and the importance of multilateral relations, but we also heard a lot about the global race for technological leadership And on this issue, Jürgen Blüneck and I would like to throw a spotlight on now. And we are very happy to be virtually connected now with Herman Hauser from New Zealand. It's great to have you joining us. For over 30 years, he has contributed to the translation of science into business. As a science-based innovator and serial entrepreneur, Herman Hauser has successfully developed and financed over 100 high-tech companies. He is best known for setting up Acorn Computers and the microchip design company ARM Holdings. So, Herman, if we look at the global race for technological leadership, how would you briefly describe the current world order in respect to science, innovation, and R&D?
Well, it's really a very simple situation. We've got three titans. We've got the US, we've got Europe, and we've got China. And we've got, unfortunately, a trade war between the US and China. So the situation that Europe finds itself in is we have outstanding technology, outstanding universities, but we lag behind the US and China in the translation of these wonderful research results into successful, very large companies. If one looks at the 10 largest technology companies, they're all either American, 8 of them, and 2 of the top 10 are Chinese.
Jürgen, I would like to ask you, having led the largest association of research centers in Germany, what is your perspective on this?
Well, it's the same as Herman just indicated. We have Europe, we have the US, we have China, or let's say Asia, and it's clear they want to move the Asian countries. They want to advance from a fast follower to a first mover. So they make a tremendous effort of investments also on basic research, not only development and innovation, but also basic research, because they know that's the future.
I wonder, Herman, what are the key factors in this competition for technological advantages?
Well, one of the things that has already happened is that China now produces more patents per year than anybody else. And that's one measure of how active they are in bringing out new technology. But the thing that is most worrying for Europe is this translation gap that we have. America has 5 times more venture capital than Europe. China now has a lot of state support that almost equals the American venture capital, and we lag behind. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so excited about the European Innovation Council that tries to redress this balance with it's a 10 billion euro effort that hopes to crowd in another 30 to 50 billion from the market for exactly this innovation gap.
Jürgen, are you optimistic that despite what we have discussed here, we will have enough collaboration to tackle the big issues?
Well, I mean, there are the sustainability goals, the global sustainability goals. Here, teams work together worldwide. Let me give an example. There was this expedition into the Arctic ice recently with the research vessel Polar Star, and this was an international team that worked there for nearly a year. So in the big questions, I think there are collaborations. This is also true for space science. Take the International Space Station or energy research, ITER, the fusion reactor in Europe.
Herman, one nice last question for you. If you had to invest all your money into one current breakthrough technological innovation to accelerate our transition to a more resilient society, which one would it be?
Quantum computing.
And would it be in the US, in China, or in the EU?
Well, the EU actually has some of the leading people in quantum computing at present. We just need to put enough money behind them so that they are as successful as the Americans. And fortunately, the Chinese are a little bit behind here. So we just need to catch up with the with the Americans here. And we do have fantastic initiatives on quantum computing. Fortunately, the governments have realized that this is important. Germany has, I think, a 2 billion euro initiative. Jürgen, of course, is in charge of the European 1 billion euro initiative. And I think we ought to put a lot of venture capital money behind it as well.
Thank you so much, Hermann Hauser, for sharing your views with us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And also, thank you very much, Jürgen Mlüneck, for joining us here in the studio and for your expertise. So let's continue with our next category. And I must admit, I'm looking very much forward to this one because it's a special one. Let's see. The breakthrough of the year in the category Science in the Arts has the title Breaking the Wall to Machine Auguries.
Oh, that's very exciting and a big surprise. Thank you. And yeah, thank you to the jury. That's really exciting for me and for all the amazing people that I get to work with on these projects, these really complicated projects that bring artists and scientists together to explore environmental issues and questions. So I'm incredibly grateful. So thank you, Falling Walls.
Breaking the Wall to Machine Auguries. Alexandra Daisy Ginsberg.
In my work, I explore our fraught relationship with nature and the technological creations that we make. So our sort of constant quest, for example, to create artificial intelligence whilst allowing species to die out.
And can you give an example of how you actually explore this tension in your work and how that appears to audiences?
Well, my most recent work is called Machine Auguries, and it's a light and sound installation. The visitor enters this room and it's dark and there's just the silvery light of the pre-dawn, and a dawn chorus starts. And the birdsong that's being played around the room is actually increasingly created by machine learning. So using a technology that is used to create deep fakes, we recreated 5 different species of birds. So the dawn chorus is taken over by birds that aren't real. And then you, as the light swells, you start to realize that all is not what it seems.
And what actually motivated you to create this project?
I was very curious how our lives affect other species. And as I delved into the research, I learned that birds are singing louder, they're singing earlier, they're singing at a higher pitch to try and make themselves heard over the noise and light of human pollution in urban environments. Blackbirds are singing 23.8 minutes earlier near airports to try and beat the aircraft noise. And the problem is that not all birds can actually make those changes. And so the ones that can't adapt won't survive. And it's not something we think about. We think about habitat loss, but we don't think about the effect of noise and light. So I wanted to bring attention to the alarming loss of bird populations, and at the same time create a way that we can understand what these technologies are capable of.
Can you describe what it means as an artist to work with these ideas and technologies? Is your work purely trying to critique these technologies, or are you also hunting for positive applications for them?
This is the challenge in my work. So working with these cutting edge technologies that are often controversial, such as deep fakes, and I've worked a lot with synthetic biology. And that is one of the reasons I make this work, is it's an ethical investigation as well. We're treading a fine line as artists and scientists working on projects like this, where you sort of advance something like deep fakes, which is a kind of dangerous and potentially controversial technology, but use it in a way that sort of sets up a whole lot of questions. And I'm always interested in asking questions.
Do you hope your work is purely about asking questions, or is there any aspiration to presenting alternatives for us.
I wrote my PhD about the idea of better. So I spent a lot of time with people who promise they can make a better future or a better world. And I became fascinated in this question of, well, what is better and who's better and who gets to decide? And I think with a lot of these kinds of technologies, there's a solutionism, this idea that these technologies will solve complex problems, but actually many of the problems we need to solve are social problems. So it's much more useful to question how we're using it, who gets the benefit and who makes the decisions, rather than blanket sort of approving any technology as a solution. And often the solution to complex problems is people agreeing with stuff. And that's really much harder than making some of these technologies, which are incredibly hard to make.
Well, congratulations to Alexandra Daisy Ginsberg. Let's see what the explanation of the jury is about this breakthrough.
Alexandra Daisy Ginsberg is a young but worldwide lauded London-based artist who works at the very heart of the cross-section of nature and technology, actively developing it further. In her installation, Machine Auguries, she consciously investigates our problem-laden relationship with nature by using a case study of urban birds threatened by our human presence. This immersive sound and light installation highlights the loss of bird populations by using machine learning to recreate a lost version of a dawn chorus. Her work makes use of a cutting edge of GNA technology in a most spirited way. As in her earlier projects, she combines synthetic biology with artificial intelligence in a both deeply critical and poetic sense. The jury is delighted to present her with a Breakthrough of the Year award from Falling Walls.
I am happy to now introduce to you someone with a broad journalistic perspective on current developments between science and society. From the world-leading magazine Scientific American, we have Laura Helmuth with us, the editor-in-chief. She gives a bigger picture on why scientists need to stand together and speak up more than ever in these difficult times.
Welcome, everyone. It's great to be here with you. I'm speaking to you from outside of Washington, D.C., and this is such an exciting conference, such an important time to be having this conference. Science is one of the most global international endeavors in human history, and right now we're facing some of the biggest global challenges in human history. Obviously, right now we're in the midst of a global pandemic. We're dealing with global climate change, global warming, and of course, the other big challenges facing the world include systemic racism, inequality, hunger, sexism, homophobia, and all of these problems, even though they can be seen, felt, suffered on a local level, the solutions to them, I think, will require global cooperation, and especially will require the global scientific community and the global research community, including social science, economics, physics, engineering, to find ways to help us out of these problems, to find the right way forward. And right now, we're seeing the evidence of how dangerous misinformation is, and disinformation, and the rejection of expertise, xenophobia, all these things, kind of all the bad things that have been evoked by the global pandemic. And it's a scary situation. It's a very difficult time, and it's made worse by the rejection of science, the rejection of evidence, the rejection of experts. And so one of the things I think that's so important about a conference like this, not that there are any other conferences like this is a unique conference, but one of the things I love is that we're coming together from all over the world to talk about solutions, to elevate knowledge, to share what we know with one another, to kind of appreciate and look forward and be hopeful. And I think that's what we're going to need, and that's the way to make the best policies. That's the way to sort of science our way out of the biggest problems facing the world, is to understand them, find solutions, use the best evidence to guide how we behave at an individual level, how countries make their decisions, how we make international collaborations. So I want to just thank everybody for coming. It's wonderful to be here with you. And everybody here is sort of part of the big battle between reality and unreality, between information and disinformation. And you all are part of the signal in the signal to noise ratio. You're the sense competing with the nonsense, and hopefully outcompeting it and rising above it and getting people who are confused to understand, this is how we know what we know about the world. This is what we should do about it. And here's the evidence, and here's how we know. And don't be led by fear, be led by knowledge. And thank you all for coming. Thank you all for sharing your knowledge and for increasing it and communicating it well to the rest of the world. It's really a delight to be here with you all.
Well, thank you very much, Laura, for your encouraging words. Let's continue now with our next category. So this one is a special category. Emerging Talents is based on the Falling Walls Lab, an international format that invites emerging researchers to present their breakthrough work in fast and captivating 3-minute pitches. Here you see pictures from the last year. Over the past years and also this year, there have been qualifiers from all over the world. And also in this year's digital forum, we're happy to bring together some of the top young researchers from all over the world. So let's see who made it through all qualifying rounds this year, all the way to the top to be the breakthrough of the year in the category Emerging Talents.
Oh, really? Oh, that's really exciting. You're not kidding, right?
Breaking the wall of neonatal health disparity. Shawana Tabassum, University of Texas at Tyler.
I'm breaking the wall of neonatal health disparity by developing a rapid, cost-effective and point-of-care diagnostic solution for infants. So specifically, the device is for monitoring sepsis, jaundice and hypoglycemia. So sepsis, it alone causes 3 million deaths worldwide, 3 million deaths of kids. And our device provides rapid detection in less than 10 minutes. Also, because it provides rapid detection, it can accelerate the treatment substantially and save millions of lives. At the same time, it provides bedside monitoring and will be an affordable solution to the poor people. So these are the features which are missing in the current technology. So that's why through this device, we hope to attain healthcare for all in the long run, because every infant, no matter where it is born, has the right to live.
So what were you actually able to do in order to make this test more affordable, more portable?
We are using some cheaper materials, which can be like the overall package will be much less costly. And as I said, still the device might not be affordable to those people who live below the poverty line and cannot afford 3 meals a day. But the thing is, we are hoping to partner with the UNICEF, local NGOs who are working for the betterment of these people. Like they are providing free diagnostic devices to the communities as a whole rather than to each family, because it will be difficult for these families to afford or to buy such devices for their own family, rather than if we can provide 1 or 2, for example, to a small community, then it will be all the people in that community will get access to the device. And this is what the UNICEF and local NGOs are already working on it.
And on a personal level, what actually inspired you to work on this?
when my son was born. So he is now 1.5 years. So back when he was just born, he was a preterm baby and he had hypoglycemia at birth. So at that time, like I was really, I could really feel the pain of those mothers, especially in my country, where they cannot afford the basic healthcare for their kids and they have to just watch their kids dying because they just cannot afford the healthcare for them. And when I was back in my country, although I have seen this scenario with my own eyes, their pain could not really reach my heart until I went through the similar kind of pain here in the US. But the major difference here was that I was really privileged because I was here in the US when my son was born. So I could afford all the healthcare for him. But how about those mothers living in those rural communities? Like they cannot just afford the healthcare and they have to watch their kids dying. So that incident really moved me to an extent that at that moment I just decided and made up my mind that I'm going to use my research for the betterment of the society, for doing good to those poor people and bring some smile to their mother's face. And that's when I embarked into this mission of ensuring healthcare for all by breaking the wall of neonatal health disparity.
A big applause to the winner, and let's see what the jury likes about this wonderful breakthrough.
As the chair of the Falling Walls Labs jury in the Emerging Talents category, I am pleased to announce that the breakthrough winner of the year is awarded to Shawana Tabassum. Shawana presented us a device in order to make an early diagnosis for neonates in rural areas of less developed countries. And this reliable device will impact greatly, immediately, the neonates' health disparity in assessment. Shawana is a bright engineer in the field of optics, microfluidics, and nanosensor. And she is a researcher who wanted to widen the spectrum of application of the device. She is dedicated to training, learning, and she motivates women in the field of science and engineering. Shawana combines talents and expertise. She is an impressive emerging talent, and we will follow her deployment with impatience and confidence.
We have seen already 9 incredible examples of breakthrough research projects and startups, and here is the last one for this year in the following category. The last breakthrough title is awarded to a research work that is doing incredible things to push forward progress in the medical field by breaking the wall to wireless medical robots inside our body.
Oh, really? Wow. That's great news. Thanks very much. Wow. Thanks very much. That's a great surprise. Thank you.
Breaking the wall to wireless medical robots inside our body. Metin City, Max Planck Institute for Intelligent Systems.
My research has created breakthrough wireless thought medical robots, which can just stay inside our body and navigate in hard-to-reach, tight, and even unprecedented inner body sites to diagnose and treat diseases. They can navigate in complex and tight body regions by using 7 locomotion modes, such as crawling, rolling, jumping, and swimming, inspired by salt-bodied animals in nature, such as caterpillars, worms, and jellyfishes. Such wireless implantable medical robots would revolutionize the healthcare. They will save more lives of patients by curing diseases more efficiently, faster, with much less side effects, and at much earlier stages.
This soft robot is remotely controlled, but how do you actually control it from outside the body?
Around the patient, we can put magnetic coils like an MRI that has controlled fields that will create shape deformations on the robot, like a loop or a sine wave, just using remote magnetic fields that we can control by computer very precisely.
What does it mean to you personally to have developed this robot?
We always dreamed to have small machines inside our body because we are so curious to know what's happening inside our body, and also how can we diagnose and treat diseases and many other things going on inside our body. This has been a great dream that now in our research we are trying to realize and achieve this dream with really small tiny machines that will become real rather than just a science fiction.
Some people might be hearing about this idea to put a robot inside you for medical reasons and be a bit nervous. How big is the thing we're talking about here?
Our soft robots are in the milliscale size, which is on the order of very small, basically rice grain, and we can make it even smaller and smaller down to almost hair diameter.
How much are organic beings inspirations for the robots you design?
We looked at soft-bodied animals like worms, caterpillars, jellyfishes, and we got inspiration from their motion and locomotion behavior inside complex media, like inside our body, and so that our robot could replicate similar behavior with the robot's soft body.
How interdisciplinary does this work need to be, using tools from robotics and applying them to medicine?
For this, we need engineers, scientists, biologists, medical doctors, all working together to understand the physiological environment that the robot needs to navigate and function, and also how to design and build these very new devices and robots, and at the end, how to apply them in clinical problems with doctors in a way that no other medical device technology currently can solve such clinical problems.
And how big a difference do you think these robots could make to how we conduct medicine?
So these robots, because of their soft body, they can navigate in complex regions of our body with no problem. And safety-wise, again, their soft body will not cause any damages. But also very important aspect of these soft devices is because of shape deformations, they can have many other functions like delivering drugs when you want on demand. They can change the shape in a way that they can inject a drug in a very controlled way in the target location, or they can do biopsy, or they can open a blood vessel if it is clogged. So all of these functions can be also enabled because of its shape and soft body deformations.
We're sending our congratulations to Metin City, and of course we would like to learn what the jury says about this breakthrough.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the jury, I have the pleasure of briefly conveying why we unanimously choose Metin City as the winning nomination for Breakthrough of the Year. Dr. City's research points the way to a revolution in medicine, one in which the smallest robots in the human body could be used for diagnostic and therapeutic purposes. His micrometer-sized soft robots are proving to be truly multi-talented. They are capable of navigating in multiple locomotion modes and grasping objects within biological organisms. The idea that one day such micro-robots will be able to deposit medicinal therapies in the blood vessels of a human body with pinpoint accuracy or perform biopsies brings us one step closer to the vision of non-invasive and robot-supported medicine. The jury congratulates Metin City on his genuine research approach and bold engineering solution.
So this was the grand final of Falling Walls this year. Congratulations again to all our winners and their fantastic breakthroughs. It was just amazing to see what they did and what they brought up. It was an amazing overview of what science, innovation, engagement, arts and policy can offer to help us move forward to a more sustainable, equal and gender society. It was a privilege to moderate the sessions during the past days, and what I'm taking home from the Falling Walls Festival this year is there are so many brilliant people coming together, working together, and work hard to solve the problems of our future, and I think it is a very good feeling. And that is also what Falling Walls want to do, show that there are many people working together on solutions and that we can create a more positive future for ourselves and for the next generation. One little remark, you also have the chance to build bridges, not walls. You can use our brain date networking tool until tomorrow afternoon. It was amazing to see how many connections were built during the past days. More than 1,000 it was. And tomorrow is the last day of the Berlin Science Week as well. So tune in for the daily highlights tomorrow at 1 p.m. CET and get more of our interesting program. So for now, I will introduce to you Karin von Hülsen. She is the Managing Director of Falling Walls. And you have been, Karin, at the center of the new developments this year. And the final words go to you now. I'm wondering, you are quite happy, I guess, that, that all the work you and your team put into the digital edition gained out and paid out in the end, right?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Astrid. It's a pleasure to be here. It was a pleasure to live the whole last days. And we're very happy that everything came together and worked out, especially a great thanks to our guests who made all this possible, to all the speakers, to the finalists, to the breakthroughs. It was fantastic. But also a big thank you to you, Astrid, our moderator in the last days, and also you said it tomorrow. It was great to have you with us. You shared a lot of knowledge with us, and most important, in combination with Adam's wonderful conducted interviews, you allowed us to meet virtually, but to meet the persons behind the project. Our speakers, finalists, winners, and breakthroughs today. So thank you for all you did.
Thanks a lot, Karin. That's really nice.
On behalf of the Falling Walls Foundation, I like to express my gratitude to all our partners and our whole network for your trust and your work throughout all our projects, your flexibility in this very special year, the shift from physical meetings into the digital world, and your encouraging support and advice. Thank you very much for all of this. We owe a very special thanks to the German Federal Ministry of Education and Research, the governing mayor of Berlin, the Robert Bosch Foundation, and the Helmholtz Association, and all our supporters and partners of the Falling Walls Foundation. Thank you so much for your ongoing support, your support in this year. Without you, all this would not have been possible. I'd like to thank all participating institutions and experts in the Berlin Science Week from all over the world. You turned the last week into a real world science. Thank you for that. And I'd like to thank, of course, all nominating institutions for your over 900 nominations and for sharing your best projects with us. It was, and it still is, and on our video platform, you can continuously meet them. It is a great pleasure to meet all finalists and to meet you all and your work and to get access to your great work you're doing for all of us. We owe a special thanks to all jury members and the chair of all juries, Helga Nowotny, for your support. It has been so much work for you on top in this intense year. Thank you for your involvement, the deep, concentrated discussions, and the wonderful results we experienced today. It was a great honor and pleasure to work with you, and I speak for the whole team. I'd like to thank the Board of Trustees of the Falling Walls Foundation for your advice and expertise along our way this year. And your confidence was a big support and encouraged us a lot. I'd like to name especially Jürgen Mlüneck, the chair of our board. All your work, and it was really a lot, I know this, And your help, and especially also your confidence in the whole Falling Walls team was and still is, and in the next years, highly appreciated. Thank you for that. And I would like to include our founder, we met him today also, Sebastian Turner. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. It means a lot for us. And of course, I have to include the very special thanks to the whole team. They are sitting, unfortunately, not in the studio right now, but in their home offices. Thank you so much for this, I have to say, crazy year. You did an incredible job, always in good spirit, and with a shared dedication for science and communication. Thank you. It was a pleasure, and it is a pleasure to work with you. I would like to include all helping hands in the studio production and in the working on the digital platform and in the digital communication we did in the last months. It was crazy, and it was really a very tight schedule we had. I wish I could name each of you, but definitely I want to thank our executive director, Felix Rundel, for his fantastic work in the last years and this year with this completely new format. Thank you to all of you. In the very middle, in the core of all our work is the science community, the passion for science and the curiosity. So the last thank you is to all our scientists involved into the last week, the finalists, the winners, and the breakthroughs today. Thank you so much for sharing your work with us, to give access to us. This gives us a lot of hope, especially in these days. You must have the very last words. So I say goodbye. Hope to see you next year, virtual or even in person. And it's up to you now.
Scientists and scholars have a great responsibility. If we don't speak up, we have not fulfilled our duty to society.
It's a common resource that humanity has to share.
By supporting people, we help them to contribute to progress in all parts of society.
Are there other ways fundamentally, and how would we make that process happen?
Profound impact on the evolution of humanity.
Who we are and can be, how we socialize, and virtually anything in our lives.
Making science more accessible.
Help to tackle global challenges.
And do really great things.
As a society, we currently face huge challenges.
To enable any citizens to come together and work on creating solutions.
Solutions that are safe, affordable, and environmental friendly.
A lot more people would be exposed to knowledge, become knowledge producers.
More inclusive and more of a collective mind.
And sustaining our world for many generations to come.
Encouraging young people to be explorers, to be themselves.
Humanity needs to work together to fix our biggest problems. Break the walls between us and them.
My research breaks the wall.
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 We are breaking down the walls.
The best way to break a wall is not to build it. So thanks to all. It's been a real pleasure